Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kevin. We're coming to you tonight with an episode about Thanksgiving cigars, traditions, and food on a stormy night here in Texas.
Yes, so we are under a tornado watch today, but that is not stopping us from shooting the podcast.
Absolutely. And so we're excited to jump into the topic tonight, not necessarily in that order, but we're going to talk about Thanksgiving. What are those traditions? What cigars are you going to be smoking? And what food are we going to be having? And I'm super excited about that.
I am too. And if the turkey is dry on Thursday, then I'm blaming you and the cigars.
Well, that's a lot of pressure for something that spends 4 hours in the oven and 5 minutes in my hand. Luckily, though, for us, I'm not cooking the turkey this year. Yeah. I hate cooking turkeys. So I have a buddy here in Texas that made the top 50 barbecue lunch. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. Once a year, there is a top 50 barbecue lunch or picnic that occurs. And they made top 50 this year. And so he's smoking our turkey and our ham for Thursday.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I am not one that loves to cook turkey either. I'm also excited about the ham and all of the sides. But as Kevin said, tonight we are talking Thanksgiving cigars, food, tradition, and how to pair and smoke with your palate, your people, and your peace of mind.
Absolutely. So before we jump any further, I went in through the graphic up there. What are we smoking tonight, Mel?
So tonight we are doing the Atabey Black from the Nelson Alfonso Selected Tabacalera. The wrapper is Ecuadorian Maduro. The binder is undisclosed, and the filler is undisclosed with Peruvian Lajero.
Yeah, so the cold draw on this is excellent. This is the second Atabey Black I've had ever. Mm-hmm. This one is absolutely fantastic. What notes are you getting on the cold draw?
So off the cold draw, I definitely get maybe some cedar a little bit, maybe, or
yeah. So
I got a little bit of a fruitiness to it.
Yeah, I get a little bit of a light leather on this cold draw. And then also a little bit of spice, which I think this is an Ecuadorian Habano. I had to look at my notes real quick to make sure. And I know it's aged into an Oscuro, but that Habano spice still comes out a little bit. And then that fruitiness, I had a fig bar earlier. You get a little bit of that fig on there. It's definitely a phenomenal cold draw. I'm excited to light it up and smoke it.
Yeah. And so I was taking just a little draw on there, and then I took a big cold draw while you were explaining, and that spice that you were talking about hits the back of my throat. So
yeah, awesome. Absolutely.
I'm excited to light it though.
So on that cold draw, and we're going to spend just a few moments. This is an absolutely spectacular. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw that graphic back up there. So Atabey is a wonderful cigar. In this Atabey Black, taking the cold draw, there's a little bit of that barnyard that's there that I didn't get off the first few draws, but I took a little bit deeper draw through there. For those of you, if you do not do a cold draw, it is something to do to start kind of warming your palate. It also gets you excited about the cigar, and you can pick up some notes that don't always bleed into the cigar once you've lit it. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoy it. Last night I was working in the garage, and I actually had a cigar in my mouth that I actually got done working. I was doing in the garage. I came and sat down on the couch to tell you about what I was doing. Still had it in my mouth. I'd never lit it. For the 40 something minutes I was doing something in the garage, I was just cold drawing. It was exceptional. And so, awesome. But let's go ahead and light this cigar and move forward and talk about Thanksgiving, our traditions and cigars. Our lighting tonight is brought to you by Big Sky Cigars.
Back in 1905, under Montana skies, 107 factories rolled smoke butterwise. From miners to ranchers, life one and grin. Now Big Sky Cigars is bringing that spirit back in.
Yellowstone River to the Bold Bighorn flow. Madison, Bitterroot, Blackfoot we know. Pine Leaf from Nicaragua, San Andres, Cuba, Ecuador rolled up.
And every box soul helps our veterans men. With warriors and quiet waters, we lend a friend's hand. It's heritage burning in every draw. Big Sky Cigars, Montana's pride and law. Big Sky Cigar, where heritage flows with every draw. Find your rare red Big Sky Cigar to pop.
Ask your local tobacconist about Big Sky cigars today. If they do not carry them, shops can reach out to Brad Frazier to set up new accounts.
As always, a huge thank you to Big Sky. Let's go ahead now that we've got these cigars lit up. How has the flavor changed for you? Has it stayed the same? Still a phenomenal cigar?
Yeah, I mean, the flavor has definitely changed. I don't get the barnyard anymore at all. The spice is still in the back of my throat, but I don't really taste it. I just can feel it there. What really has come to the forefront, just the first couple of draws, which I find extremely interesting, is there's a hint of kind of licorice, maybe in a nice that's there a little bit. And it's a little bit of bitterness. I would not call it a coffee, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. And it may just be the licorice notes that are there.
It reminds me a little bit that you say that. Remember, like in New Orleans when we have coffee and they put the chicory in there?
Yeah, that may be a great.
That's what it. I wouldn't have put those together before, but when you said not coffee, but kind of like coffee and licorice, that's what it reminds me of.
Mm-hmm.
When you buy the coffee, and you can get it here too, I guess, if you buy it at the store. But yeah, that's a great.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a nice kind of pairing. We're also pairing our drinks tonight with a wonderful Thanksgiving chai. So, we love chai, and we haven't paired as many drinks lately with our cigars, but we wanted a nice Thanksgiving drink.
Speaking of, I'm going to take a drink of mine.
Yep. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays. So
it's very hot.
Yeah.
But it pairs perfectly with this cigar. It is Thanksgiving week. Let us be one of the first to wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. We are excited about everything coming up this week, including the cigars we get to smoke tonight and the cigars we're planning to smoke this weekend, or I guess this Thursday. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah. And if you're like us, you might have a lot of festivities coming up this week. Maybe you go for a turkey run before you have the big meal.
Oof, not me.
Yeah, not me yet. One of these days, probably, but not this year. But we are excited. We have a lot of family coming into town throughout the week. We have a big meal. We're going to have cigars, board games, probably football, and hopefully lots of cigars sprinkled throughout there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're listening on the replay with a turkey in the oven, a pie in the fridge, and one relative you're already avoiding, this episode's for you.
Yes, and we're going to be sharing a few of our Thanksgiving wins and our Thanksgiving disasters, because I would say that we have lots of experience with that. With
absolutely. We've really done our homework for tonight. One is preparing for tonight, but also we've gone through it.
Yeah.
We've had some experiences, right? So we've been reading, we've been tasting, and to say the least, we've been field testing, so you do not have to, and you can get this Thanksgiving as perfect as possible.
Yes. So we're going to start with the first big question, and that is, when do you smoke your cigar on Thanksgiving?
Well, that's a really difficult question for me, but I think the right answer for the rebels out there is right after the turkey goes in the oven, so that you can pretend you helped.
That's the I basted it once and I am the hero schedule.
Absolutely. I got it in the oven. Now I'm outside. And anytime I ask you, like, hey, I really can't come in. I got a cigar in my mouth. And if they're not a cigar smoker, they don't realize you can lay it down and walk away for 3 or 4 minutes, or you can relight it, right? But let's be honest. There are 3 main time slots. There is the pre-meal when things are cooking. Mm-hmm. There's halftime, which is between dinner and dessert. And then there's the post game, which is after all the dishes are done, a lot of your guests have gone, and you can sit down on the deck, light a cigar, and just take a deep breath.
Yeah. So pre-meal cigars are going to be all about the anticipation. The flavors should not wreck your appetite. And you're going to want something lighter, something shorter, maybe something a little bit milder, maybe that says, I'm classy, but I'm also supervising the mac and cheese, however you're making that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my pick for that cigar, that pre-meal cigar, is Les Mezcal Cubana. It's a 4.5 by 54 mild to mild plus cigar. It's an Ecuadorian shade, Connecticut. It is a beautifully wrapped cigar with enough of a punch that you've got that flavor, but it's not strong, and it's super easy to smoke early in the day.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great cigar. And although I want something maybe a little smaller, I don't mind a little bit more of a medium cigar. I might do something like the Casada Petite Connecticut or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a excellent choice. The Casada Petite Coronas are fantastic. They have a few different ones in their line. I know you like those. So with Les Mezcal Cubana and the Casada Petite Corona in the pregame, let's talk halftime for a second, because halftime's a little tricky. You're full. You've argued about what game you're going to play when everybody comes out of the food coma. Someone's pretending to help clean up because they've washed the same fork like 45 times.
Yeah.
And so that's where it gets a little trickier.
Right. So that's a spot that's going to be great for a medium cigar. So enough flavor to cut through the meal you've eaten, the stuffing, the gravy that's going to be lingering on your palate, but it's not going to be so heavy that you are going to regret every life decision. So something like the Ladybug by the Elevated Humidor, or even an M81 Blackened by Drew Estates.
Yeah. That's a really great cigar selection. I know you love the M81. Excuse me, the M81 black one. You absolutely love that cigar. The Ladybug's an excellent choice. And you're right, it really needs to cut through all those flavors. You've just had so many flavors on the plate, right? So now let's get to the post-game cigar. After the dishes are done, the leftovers are packed up, the house is a little quietened down. The good sweatpants are on. You're no longer dressed up or wearing whatever it is you're trying to do for dinner. And that's when you can go richer, more complex, and just sit in what I like to call the gratitude pocket. So what do you lighten up then, Mel?
Yeah, so for me, this is going to be the celebration cigar. For us this year, it might be a little bit more late night cigar since we're going to have the kids all here at the house.
Right.
But that's going to be my celebration cigar. That's our evening cap.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a robust affair with all 6 of our kiddos here, our son-in-law, and I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. But it's also going to be a long day where I'm going to be ready for a cigar on the deck before bed. I'm going to need that wind down cigar. And I agree, the celebratory cigar is probably the perfect way to describe that.
Yeah. And we'll come back to disclose what we are going to have our celebration cigar as our nightcap on Thanksgiving in a little bit. But for now, Thanksgiving is not just about you and your humidor. There are kids, there's going to be non-smokers, and there's going to be the aunt that claims she can smell your cigar from 3 zip codes away.
And she probably can, because there's one in every single family. Matter of fact, we recently had something happen really funny. We were actually recording a podcast, and we got a text from our friend Chris, who you've all met before. And he said that he had a buddy who was walking his dog on our street, and he could smell the aroma of cigars. So he texted Chris and goes, "Hey, are you having a cigar back on your deck?" As some of you guys know, Chris lives just back over there a little ways. Our backyards kind of butt up against each other. And so we often joke about smelling each other's cigars. But this time, that person actually smelled the cigars. Chris responded back, no, that he wasn't at home, but he probably knew who was. And so just such a funny experience. So there are those people that can smell it literally a street away.
Yeah, agree. 100%. I love that story. So here is a few etiquette rules for the Rebel who is traveling for Thanksgiving and you still want to get invited back at a future date. The first is going to be to ask your host where it is okay to smoke. Don't just assume, because who knows where it could be. The second is going to be to stay downwind of the main crowd. And then the third is going to be, don't light up at the front door like you're a fragrant welcome mat, especially if you're with someone who maybe is not a cigar smoker, not adjusted, or doesn't know a lot about cigars, or has maybe never smoked one or smelled one before ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with that, sitting downwind is such a great suggestion, but realize that you might have to change places a couple of times, because this time of year, at least here in Texas, the wind's coming from over there, and a few minutes later, it's coming from over here. And so you might have to move around a little bit, but just thinking through that etiquette is such an important part. And let's flip the script a little bit. And what if you're the host? That's where you really need to set the tone early, right? So, hey, after dinner, a few of us are going to step outside for a cigar. Anybody who wants to join in, you're welcome. Anyone who doesn't, the game's going to be on the TV. There'll be plenty of things to drink and snack on, but we're going to be stepping outside once or twice today.
Yeah. I mean, I like to frame it as a little ritual of gratitude smoke time. And
absolutely,
it's going to keep it from feeling like we're ditching everyone and more like we're stepping out for a moment.
Also, and another thing, do not try to talk someone into their first cigar at the end of a gigantic meal.
Yes.
After they've had 3 glasses of bourbon or a couple of glasses of red wine, or maybe they have started early and they're already getting into the eggnog, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a recipe for my cousin turned green, and we had to sit with him on the porch all night.
Yeah.
Just not a good idea.
Yes, you're going to want to start any newbies early on in the day with something light-bodied, short, and with water nearby. This is going to be a holiday, not a hazing.
Well, unless it's the cousin that you do not want to come back next year. We probably all have one of those.
Maybe so. But let's transition for a moment and let's talk about Thanksgiving cigar traditions.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we started a tradition that I hope continues this year. And that's after dinner, we each grabbed a small Vitola cigar. We retreated to the deck. We set up paint stations for the kids. And they sat around the deck and painted Christmas pictures while Mel and I sat a few feet away and enjoyed a cigar before we had dessert. It was an absolutely wonderful time. And matter of fact, we have those pictures in our house, and they've talked about doing it again this year.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice. The weather was perfect. Last year was a little bit different because the kids were traveling without us.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to having everybody here again this year.
Yeah, exactly. I really am excited about them being here. And we might actually have to go pick up some of those supplies, because I don't know if we have any of those Christmas pictures. And the paints, again, don't be like me. Over the summer, they were out here painting. I was smoking a cigar. I tucked them into one of the chairs thinking I'll pick them up later. 2 months later, I slid one of their chairs out. The dried up paint was all still sitting there. So we need paint and pictures for this weekend. Add that to the shopping list.
Right. Absolutely. And so if you're listening to us and maybe you don't have a tradition yet, we do have a couple of ideas that you guys can steal and or make your own. The first one is going to be to buy something nice or a luxury cigar you do not normally smoke.
Yeah, I'm going to interject real quick.
Yeah.
That's why we're smoking the Atabey Black.
Yes.
This is not an everyday smoke. As I mentioned the other day, this is the second Atabey Black I've ever smoked. On Thursday, we have something that I smoke rarely that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But jump in, grab something out of the normal. And it doesn't have to be an expensive cigar. It can just be something out of the normal that you can sit back and relax and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so plan to enjoy it after dinner before the pies come out. So that is the first option. Another one is a generational smoke. And that could be your grandfather, your dad, your son, your daughter, anyone that is interesting. You could all be out on the porch telling stories.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They could want to smoke the cigar with you, or they could just want to be in the area. It's easy to talk stories when you're smoking a cigar, whether you're smoking one or not, if there's a cigar in the room.
100%.
And then the third one is going to be the leftovers and lighters nightcap. So that's once everybody leaves, you pour yourself a small glass of something good. make yourself a leftover sandwich, and finally you light the cigar that you have been wanting all day.
Yeah, and if you haven't found the right leftover sandwich, just Google Ross's Friends Thanksgiving sandwich. It's a phenomenal sandwich that you will enjoy with your cigar. What do you think about that?
So I love Friends. Friends is one of my favorite shows, but I cannot get on board with Ross's Day Thanksgiving with the moist maker and that's in the sandwich. I just can't get on board with it personally, but
you don't like soggy things, though.
I don't. It's a texture thing for me.
Absolutely. So a nice cigar-focused tradition does not have to be complicated. Light, laugh, tell the same story you've told every year. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So we have more Thanksgiving and cigar content coming up in just a moment, but first we're going to take a quick break.
We fell in love with cigars not because of the flavors or smoking experience or perceived status, but because it allows barriers to fall between other humans and build deeper connections. For that reason, we've been super intentional to curate a space where people can find community and enjoyment with others, and cigars just happen to be the way we're doing it. For that reason, we are thrilled to be the one and only cigar retail store and lounge in downtown Lufkin. A good story is one of the most powerful tools used to connect with another human. Sharing stories fades out differences and highlights similarities found in the details, or with the storyteller. Over the years, we have seen some of the best stories told over cigars, and thus, new friendships are made, passions shared, encouragement given, and so much more. The impact storytelling has on the human connection is why we've decided to name our store and lounge Stories. Because behind every good cigar and conversation is an even better story.
Source Elevate is a consulting firm that focuses on providing resources, insight, and experience to elevate your performances. Our team's 30-plus years of experiences in executive leadership positions provide the foundation of knowledge that we provide to our clients. Allow us to elevate your company's mission, vision, and objectives over short, mid, and long-term initiatives that drive results and source new opportunities.
As always, a huge thank you to our sponsors. Let's go ahead and take a look at upcoming shows really quick.
Absolutely. Next week on December 1st, we have Do They Belong in the Humidor? This is an exciting night. We have a discussion on where cigars fit into a serious lineup. And then the second half, as we're calling Act 2 of that episode, we're going to sit down in person with Jonathan Carney of Bentley Cigars and talk all things Bentley.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. December 8th is our Cold Nights, Fires, and Cigars, and we are going to be smoking the West Tampa Circle of Life. And that we're just going to be talking about some fireside pairings and winter enjoyment. On
December 15th, we're talking about the Unsung Holiday Heroes. These are underrated winter cigars. On that night, we're going to be smoking the San Latino Maduro by AJ Fernandez. Excited to smoke that cigar and have a conversation. There are a lot of cigars on the market that are underrated.
Yeah, I agree. And then December 22nd is going to be our Christmas episode, which is our underrated winter cigars, which I think you just mentioned, right?
Yes, yep, absolutely. So mess up on the graphic, 100% my fault. On that night, we are going to be smoking a limited edition cigar that we're going to announce that night, the 2026 Cigar Rebel cigar.
Yes, I am super stoked about that. It's going to be a good one.
But it's our Christmas episode. We're going to talk all things Christmas. It's going to be a fun episode. We hope you guys join us just a few days before the big celebration. A lot like tonight, just a few days before this week's big celebration.
Yep. Awesome. So now let's go ahead and check in on the cigar.
Sorry, I'm laughing over me messing up the graphic and took a big draw in it and of my cigar as I inhaled it. So this cigar is excellent. We're about an inch in, maybe right at the end or middle of the first third. That earthiness we picked up on the cold draw is really back a little bit. Not significant, but it's definitely there a little bit. Also, I'm really picking up a little bit of that mocha-y coffee kind of notes. And again, it's more of that bitterness than anything else. And still just a slight hint of licorice.
Yeah, I would agree with all of those things, I'm not picking up too much spice or anything, even on a more full draw. Like I was on the cold draw, I could draw in some spice flavors. I'm not picking up a lot of that now that it's lit.
Yeah,
but I do have a little bit of tingling just right here on the outside of my lip. So, but it's a phenomenal cigar. I'm enjoying it.
It is, and it's complex. It's already changed a little bit in that first inch from when we first lit it. I love when a cigar does that. It has a little bit of that transition. Before we jump in any further, if you guys are watching live, we'd love for you to go ahead and comment. Let us know you're watching. Share with us what you're smoking or pairing with your cigar tonight. If this is your first time, go ahead and click that subscribe button down there. You can always follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Cigar Rebels, or of course, join the Cigar Rebel community on Facebook where you can post pictures of your cigars, pairings, and great foods. We'd love to see some of y'all's Thanksgiving celebrations and pictures on there later this week. But we are so thankful for those of you who follow us on this journey and keep us honest.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. So going back to our topic tonight, now we are going to discuss some pre-meal pairings. So Thanksgiving is a big eating day.
Absolutely.
It's also big if you watch the parade, if you are watching football, if you've got that in the background. I used to watch the parade when I would be cooking every year, but then I kind of stopped for some time. And then last year or the year before we had it on because the kids wanted to watch it. And I'll be honest, I did not know who most of the people were, all the special guest stars. I didn't know who most of them were. It made me feel old.
Yeah, when we were watching, it was definitely one of those things. It's like, who's that?
Yeah.
Who's this? I love music and I listen to it a lot, but I can rarely tell you who sings what or who is what. I am not a pop culture person. The only thing I know from right now is that football, the entire NFL is designed to make you order food.
Yeah.
That's the big commercial going on right now. And yesterday watching football, I ordered pizza during the middle of football. So apparently it's working. All the pizza ones. But so Thanksgiving's a big eating day.
Yes.
What all are you going to have with finger foods?
So
what kind of thing?
You're going to do your cheese board. Maybe it is a fancy charcuterie. Maybe you are going to do deviled eggs, or as our son called them the first year, deviled eggs.
Absolutely.
And I had no idea what he was talking about, but then I figured it out. There's nuts. Some people will do some dips. And what is going to work with that?
Yeah. So that's where I would suggest a milder, creamy, maybe a Connecticut cigar. Something with those notes that are creamy, maybe a little toastiness to that, maybe a little nuttiness. It really plays nice with the cheeses and it doesn't really bulldoze your palate. And you may be more of a medium to full or full-bodied smoker, but because you're pairing it with these snacks, that lighter cigar is going to pair really, really well for you. And if you're going luxury all day, then the Davidoff number 5 of the Grand Cru is an excellent choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. Another great option would probably be the Chateau Fuente Connecticut, or the Sun Grown. If you're doing a lot of appetizers like salty chips or olives or cured meats, you can pair that with a stick, and that's going to have a touch of sweetness to it, or that sweet and salty magic that a lot of people really enjoy that's going on.
Yeah. So something sweet like a dark sin, a Fat Bottom Betty.
I'm not necessarily talking about an infused cigar, but maybe a mild to medium Maduro. So maybe like the La Giana or Bentley, or maybe the Garofalo Maduro cigars.
Yeah. And for drinks pre-meal, do not go too heavy. A lower proof bourbon, a sparkling water with lime, maybe a fruity cocktail, a Shirley Temple, something of that. You're about to eat a lot of food. Do not overdo it with your beverages. I highly encourage you, if you're a beer drinker, don't drink a ton of beer leading up into the big meal. You're already going to be full.
Yes, and there's going to be a hot take, but I don't normally smoke a cigar with the big meal or during the big meal.
Agreed. Not because you can't. I love a cigar with a nice steak or a hamburger or with barbecue, but because Thanksgiving dinner is already a flavor circus.
Mm-hmm.
You have turkey, you have ham, you have gravy, you have stuffing, you have cranberries, you have mac and cheese, you have sweet potatoes, you've got the mashed potatoes. Whatever your family throws in, there is a smorgasbord of flavor on the table.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you do choose to smoke with your palate, go medium bodied, not too peppery. Think something balanced, like with some wood or maybe some nut undertones, maybe a baking spice, something that is going to echo all those autumn flavors you're about to enjoy. And it's not going to fight you on the big meal you're about to enjoy.
Absolutely. And pacing matters, right? I'm a fast smoker, but when I'm eating a meal, I slow down a little bit and have a few less draws per minute. And most people say you need to draw a minute. And if you notice, I said less draws per minute. But you can take a couple of puffs between bites, allow your cigar to rest, make sure you have a nice ashtray there to set it down, to let it rest while you're eating. And also don't change smoke throughout dinner. It'll dominate everything.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I like to hit pause during the main meal. I want to taste everything that we have been making. So I want to be able to taste the ham, the cranberry sauce, which I usually, for me, I'm not a huge cranberry sauce fan. I will do just a tiny bit to try it. But a lot of people, I know you love it. I know you love it. And then also the stuffing that's, I usually will prep the night before, but it takes hours. It is not a Southern cornbread stuffing. It is more of an Italian stuffing. And so
it's delicious.
It tastes better to make the night before, but it still takes a couple of hours.
Yeah, and your guests will appreciate not having smoke waft over the mashed potatoes throughout the meal. Mm-hmm. And although there is something, as I said, about smoking a cigar while dining, it's really hard to beat having a cigar with your meal. However, like I said, I just feel like Thanksgiving is such a unique beast.
Yeah, I agree.
Now you get to Christmas. Growing up, my family tradition was traditional Thanksgiving meal, but at Christmas it was more enchiladas or Mexican food. Go all out with your cigars there. It pairs perfectly with a cigar. However, Thanksgiving, there's a lot of flavor on the table.
There is. And for anybody who is watching live, feel free to drop in the comments what are some of the delicious foods that you guys are going to be making later this week. For us, we have all of our staples. We usually, I think we make all of it from scratch. None of it is, except for like our meats this year, we are having someone do for us. But
I'm making them from scratch. I pick up the phone. I scratch some notes on the pad. I gave them my credit card. They scratch notes on their pad. We're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So all the sides, those are all going to be from scratch. So
absolutely
love that.
So let's pause for a moment and take another thought on this. Atabey Black. We've kind of transitioned to the second third. And for me, it's definitely changed a little bit. I've definitely got a little bit more of a mocha sweetness on it. And almost a little bit of a ginger that's kind of showing up on the palate, right? Kind of on the back sides of the mouth. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. There is something right now that is dead center, a flavor that's dead center on my tongue that just now I was trying to articulate what that would be flavor wise. And I haven't come up with it yet, but it's a little tingly, a little sweet, maybe.
Yeah. So I definitely get the mocha. I definitely get the ginger that's on there. And just on the side of the tongues, kind of on the top sides, I've got a little bit of a pepperiness there. Almost like a black pepper. I grilled a steak yesterday, and on mine, I put a lot of black pepper because I love pepper, and Mel doesn't love black pepper.
It's true.
It's got a little bit of that tingliness to it, but not that flavor. Mm-hmm. And ginger does that to me as well. Like have a ginger tea or like chewing on ginger. And so that could be what you're picking up. Either way, this is really almost the third transition in this cigar since we've been smoking it for the last half hour.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So let's turn our attention to dessert for a moment.
Dessert, one of my favorite parts of any meal. And sometimes I will order it or eat it before dinner. But for Thanksgiving, we're going to do, the traditional fun things, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, apple pie. This is all prime pairing territory, and normally on Thanksgiving, so I'm actually not a huge pie fan. I think it is, again, a texture thing. The crust is dry, the middle is like wet or gooey or what's going on there. So sometimes I will pair do some sort of chocolate cake or something that is not necessarily a traditional Thanksgiving dessert dish, because I love desserts.
Last year you made cookies
Yes.
for us, which was great.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't traditionally consider cookies a dessert. Cookies are a treat. If I want dessert, I want cakey, I want pie, I want all the textures.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely different there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a pumpkin pie, I like a cigar that leans a little bit into the baking spice, a little bit into the cinnamon, the clove, the nutmeg, maybe a little bit of sweetness, naturally off of a Maduro. The Echo really sings next to the pumpkin and spice of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to choose a cigar this year for pumpkin pie, I would probably choose the Autumn Night by the Elevated Humidor, limited release, not a flavored cigar at all, but it's got the natural sweetness from the Brazilian Metafina wrapper. The Ligero that's in there has a little bit of that spiciness to it. It's definitely a dessert cigar.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Another option, maybe if you are not going the pumpkin pie route, maybe you are doing pecan pie. That's going to be rich, buttery, and of course, it is going to be sweet. Pecan pie is so sweet. And with that, it's going to be able to stand up to a slightly stronger, deeper cigar. So, notes of maybe caramel or nuts, maybe some dark chocolate in there. The bitterness from the cocoa and the coffee and the smoke is going to balance out all of that sugar. So maybe enjoying one of our cigars, or like right now I'm thinking particularly the Opus X Rare Pink, which is going to cut through all that richness of the pecan pie.
And if I'm having pecan pie, I'm probably going to have a very small slice and a cup of coffee with it.
Yeah.
I need a little bit of that bitterness. So I might even pair it with a milder cigar because of the coffee.
Yeah.
But for my second slice, and don't worry, they're going to be small, is going to be apple pie, especially an apple pie that's got some tartness. I really want something a bit woody and a little bit bright when it comes to the cigar. You don't want a cigar that's sweeter than the dessert.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really where everything goes flat. If those flavor notes are too complementary, it just absolutely flattens out the experience. So with that in mind, I'm thinking an 858 Fuente sun-grown cigar.
Yeah.
It'll really kind of cut through the sweetness of the apple pie.
And so talking about apple pie, I told you yesterday, do you consider an apple pie to be an apple pie that does not actually have any apple pieces in it? I told you about the recipe that was apple juice, sugar, flour, and butter. And you dump all of that into a pie crust and you bake it, and then you put it in the fridge and let it sit. And then according to the video I saw, it looks like it doesn't have the apple pieces in it, but it has the texture gooiness of an apple pie. But I don't know that I consider that an apple pie personally, because there's no actual apple in it.
So that's for somebody who loves all of the gooiness of an apple pie, but doesn't like the texture of the apples in there. But I'm going to tell you, my favorite part's to dig out all the apples. I could honestly have an apple pie that has no crust, just that gooiness with apples in the middle. Without the apples, it feels a lot like a custard or a cream pie or just something that shouldn't be eaten.
Yeah.
I've not tried it. So if you guys have had it and tried it, leave us a comment. We'd love to know. Maybe it's something we'll have to try down the road.
Right.
But I would not call that an apple pie.
I don't know that I would either. But through all this, going back, we also, like you had mentioned, coffee. We cannot forget the coffee. So coffee plus a dessert plus a cigar is honestly a Thanksgiving holy trinity for me. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. A great coffee, either black or with a touch of cream, really acts like the reset button on your palate, so you can enjoy both the pie and the cigar. Oftentimes I'll take a bite of the pie, a draw on the cigar, then a drink of the coffee. I'll rotate how I pair them. Sometime the coffee between the pie and the cigar and vice versa. So I can really get all of those different flavors out of what I'm enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, having a cigar with a piece of pie might be even better than a cigar with a steak. It's a close second if it's not better. Would love to know what you like to eat with your cigars. But here's the real question. What cigar do you pair with your pie and your coffee?
So thinking through it, potentially I would say the Davidoff Winston Churchill Late Hour.
Phenomenal cigar.
Or you could also do the Davidoff Millennium Petite Corona. So something important to remember is that this is a day of celebration. It is a day of gratitude. Whatever you are thankful for, it deserves great cigars. And maybe you're just even thankful for cigars. I mean, that's enough for me to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. Absolutely. I'm thankful for much more, but
I agree with you 100%. This is a season of gratitude. And I actually believe Thanksgiving is not the end of the season of gratitude, but more of the kickoff as we move into the Christmas season, as we move into the winter. But as you always say, and Mel, you say this all the time to people, a great cigar does not mean an expensive cigar. And the other reality is some other people's definition of expensive may be very different than yours.
Yeah.
We have people at our lounge that a $13 cigar is an expensive cigar. Mm-hmm. And we have others that a $15 cigar is their everyday cigar.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a special celebratory cigar for you, where you can sit back and be grateful for all the hands that touch the tobacco, the fermenting, the rolling of the cigar, getting it into your hands, and also all the things you have to be grateful for in your life. I know we have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, 100%. I love Thanksgiving in that it always does seem to refocus back on just being thankful and maybe even being present with your family, being present, doing the traditions that you guys do. It's not a big gift giving holiday. So I feel like there isn't a lot of pressure in that regard.
So growing up, transition a little bit. Growing up, what was a Thanksgiving tradition for you and your family when you were growing up?
So I would say when I was a kid, something that when I lived with my parents, I did every year was I was in charge of setting the table. And we had this like huge book. It was like 100 pages of different ways to set the table for different occasions. And we only brought it out. We only brought it out once a year, and that was for Thanksgiving. And I would bring it out so I could decide which table setting you would need to do. And my mom had those like fall plates, which people know them when they see them. I forget the name. Yeah. They have a name, but they're like a cream tan color, and they have like the vines and apples on them. So we would call them the apple plates. And those were always what we used for Thanksgiving. She got them from my great grandmother, who brought them over with her to the States. And so that was something that was always my responsibility. We never had napkins that were strong enough that you could like fold them into, or I just wasn't dexterous enough to fold them into any like cool shape. But that was one thing, is we would always set the table early in the morning, and it would stay that way until it was time to do Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay. So our tradition was growing up, my mom had 3 sisters, and each of those sisters had kids, and each of those kids had kids.
Yeah.
And so I was on the younger side. And so we were all younger. We would get together at one of their houses. It was a big day to see all our cousins, to play, to do things. People out on the back deck drinking beer. We'd have turkey, all the things. And it was just a great time to celebrate family. Mm-hmm. And there would be a few dozen of us there. Christmas was always dozens upon dozens. We have a big family, but Thanksgiving was a little bit smaller. It was always so much fun just to get there. And it was an all-day event. I mean, we would get there 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd have lunch around noon or 1. And then I seem to remember somewhere around dusk and dark, it's kind of like you're going back for seconds and having another round. And then kind of settled in. Mm-hmm. With our kids, one of the big traditions that we do is we've traditionally watched a movie on Thanksgiving and played board games. Mm-hmm. And so that's something the kids love to do. But you left out one that I thought would be pretty focused around a movie and some candy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I totally understand that. So every year in my house, we would also either the night before Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving, we would watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and we would have the peanut M&Ms. And so that is something I think I still do pretty much every year.
We've got a bag on the counter.
Yep, there's a bag on the counter ready to go. But I feel like it is definitely a part of a Thanksgiving tradition, but it also kicks off. So we would watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And after you watched that movie, that could segue you into my parents would watch Christmas movies. But that was like all we would watch from the day after Thanksgiving, or really Thanksgiving Day. We would watch Home Alone while my dad cleaned up, because I think he almost always cleaned up. But we'd watch Home Alone, and really from then on till the week after Thanksgiving, all you would watch is Christmas movies.
Yeah.
So, which I don't know that we do that necessarily. We watch a lot of Christmas movies, or we try to when we have time.
Yeah,
last year
for some reason we didn't watch a lot.
We didn't.
But most years we get in quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited for some Christmas movies once we get through this Thanksgiving holiday. I'm also excited about all the Christmas lights, riding around on the golf cart, smoking a cigar, looking how everybody's decorating. It's going to be a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do some of that this Thanksgiving with the kids as it gets dark, drive around, see who has already jumped the gun and got some Christmas lights up.
Yeah.
We're one of them. We got a tree up. We got our lights up.
Got a few decorations.
But we did that because all the kids are going to be here this week, and you got to stretch that out. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
You've got to stretch as much of that as you can. All right, let's jump back into the topic, and maybe let's focus in a little bit on Thanksgiving cigars.
Yeah. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to break down cigars that you should have, or maybe you could grab before the big day this Thursday. So that's
you got a few shopping days.
Yep.
So before we get to the list, I want to cover drinks and hosting duties. Okay. So I forgot about that when I mentioned cigars because I didn't look at my notes, and I apologize. But this is where most of us get either brilliant or reckless.
Okay.
So on Thanksgiving, you see a lot of bourbon, right? For turkey and savory dishes, a bourbon with a little rye spice can pop alongside herbs and seasonings, which is excellent. And after dinner, you can slide into something richer, maybe a little bit higher proof, maybe a little bit more caramel or oakiness, so it can pair well with your cigar.
Mm-hmm. Then there's also, of course, some rye whiskeys. Those are going to have some peppery spice that can be light and light up spice notes to a medium to full cigar.
Absolutely.
You just want to be careful when doing that, because when you're pairing it with savory foods, a delicious rye and a peppery cigar has the combination to potentially be dangerous, as the food and the cigar will balance the rye so well. It's easy to drink too much and too early, and then you won't remember the rest of your Thanksgiving.
Is this coming from experience?
Not from me, but from observation, maybe observation.
Absolutely. We've been there, right?
Yeah.
It was a couple of Thanksgivings ago that a good friend of ours, after a few rye whiskeys and cigars, just decided to take a quick nap on the deck and enjoyed the rug for a little post-Thanksgiving nap.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. So you've also got some different maybe ports and some sherry or dessert wines. You want to touch on those?
Absolutely. Fantastic with a post-Thanksgiving cigar is to pair that with a nice champagne, with a mild cigar, and a light desserts like maybe a fluff or a cloud cake or a cheesecake. Or if you're choosing that port, those deep raisin and fig caramelly notes will really marry well with cigars that have some chocolatey, dried fruit, molasses, or maybe a nutty profile. Absolutely excellent. So what are some cigars that kind of fit that profile for a nice port, Mel?
Yeah, so for me, I think of cigars maybe like the Byron or the Bandolero. You could do the Hoya de Monterey, maybe a Leo Privada number 9, and my father Le Bijou. I mean, just a couple options.
Yeah, those are great. Another thought, and you'll pick up on this theme a little bit. We've mentioned this brand a lot from a celebratory standpoint, is a Davidoff, specifically the Signature Series, or even the Bentley Green for a more $12 to $15 cigar, depending on which Vitola you get it in. That deeper Habano definitely has those notes that pairs well.
Yeah, and honestly, you can't sleep on spiced cider, whether you're doing hot or cold. with a cigar that
Absolutely.
maybe has some cedar in there, some baking spice, a little sweetness. It's like drinking autumn. And now one thing that is not in these notes, because I don't think either of us are a huge fan of it, but it is a huge holiday drink, is going to be eggnog.
Mm.
For me, I cannot get past the texture, so I do not drink it a lot. I don't mind the flavors, but the texture is not for me.
Everything else we've talked about sounds amazing. The eggnog is a big pass.
But for some people, it is a standard rite of passage for Christmas, for Thanksgiving. It is eggnog time.
Absolutely. My family loves eggnog with rum chata. They love eggnog. It's absolutely. I'll stick with my nice chai latte. The other night, you made a delicious homemade friendly hot chocolate that was delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that with a regular Atabey.
Yes.
And that was fantastic. I had to kind of prep my palate for tonight. So I was trying to pre-celebrate just a little bit.
Yes. And he didn't mention it, but it was a low carb hot chocolate. So we homemade it quick, and it was not, I love a good hot chocolate that's not too sweet, but that is not necessarily a recipe that is great for you because of all the carbs.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the sugar.
but this one was great. So make sure you plan well. Like I said, you can either be brilliant or reckless. Pair the right drinks to go throughout the day to make sure that everyone coming to your house, or maybe you're bringing the drinks to someone else's, that you have everything you need to work your way through the meal in a similar fashion of making sure you have the right cigars to work your way through the day.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, I might need a schedule for Thursday just to get through all of these great options and have them spaced out to make sure we can savor and enjoy all of them.
I'm okay with a schedule, like an agenda, hand it out as people get here, just so they know this is when Kevin's stepping out for a cigar. Right. Enjoy the TV, enjoy the home, enjoy the deck, whatever you want, but this is when I'm stepping out, right? So, but here's honestly the rule of thumb. Lighter cigars, low proof bourbon, cider or lighter cocktails early in the day.
Yes.
Medium cigars, bourbon, rye, red wine, midday, halftime show between the meal and dessert. And then richer cigars with a port, a rum, a dessert cocktail, or a strong coffee to wind down the night. And don't get me wrong, I love a regular coffee right before bed. I sleep so well. Some of you guys might need a decaf. I'm sorry, but you can still get a really good, rich, strong decaf to enjoy if that's your preference.
Yes. And also make sure to drink water. Plenty of water. And I would say coffee does not count. Have actual water, because your future self is going to be thanking you after a day of feasting.
Absolutely. And if you're hosting, here's the reality. You're doing 3 jobs on Thursday. You're the cook, the therapist, and the cigar curator. And don't forget to play those roles.
Yeah, and you left one off, which is going to be the whiskey and cocktail sommelier. Or even if you're doing wine, you need someone who's going to say, these are the wines.
Fine. You're doing 4 jobs. Yep. I want to give a shout out and just let the rebels out there know a few hosting tips. And so here's the thing. The first tip, have a plan where people will smoke. The back deck, the front porch, the patio near a space heater, whatever it is, make it clear and have it set up before they get there. Have the ashtrays ready, a little table or a ledge to have some lighters, maybe even having some lighting outside or some candles to really set the atmosphere and make it cozy.
Right. And don't forget that if you are living in a cold area or somewhere maybe crisp, that there should be some heat elements in there. So maybe a nice solo stove, or have a fire pit ready to go, maybe some heaters. Because if you're creating a nice cozy spot, people are going to treat it like a lounge.
Absolutely.
And not like they're hiding from their family, which is going to make the whole thing feel intentional.
Absolutely. Second, build a little cigar menu. A mild option for newbies, a medium bodied crowd pleaser, a richer, more complex option for the cigar nerds in your crew. And I plan to have a small cabinet humidor on the coffee bar with a few different options for those who might want to grab a different cigar. And I'm not saying you need to print out a cigar menu. Just maybe have a few different cigars there that you can kind of point somebody to versus having to go dig through your humidor.
Yes. And I would say too, adding to that, if you are setting up cigars to give away to friends or to have a friendly cigar with, you might get that one person who wants to have a cigar. They're going to take 2 draws of it and be done.
Yep.
So be prepared for that, and don't make them feel bad if you are leaving cigars out there to smoke, for them to smoke and to have. I don't think it is up to us to decide you didn't smoke enough of this cigar.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
have some options you don't care about as much, or that would be good for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to make sure you're prepped, and that's a good time to have either some house blends or bundled cigars. I definitely wouldn't give them an Atabey or a Davidoff or something that you're really giving them. Make sure you have a good selection for them.
Yes. And also don't be too stingy with the cutters and the fire. Have a couple or quite a few cutters and lighters handy, just so you're not playing the who has the torch all night, or if someone accidentally puts it in their pocket and walks inside with it, you have no idea who it is. You're not having to go hit each guest with who took my lighter.
Absolutely. And another thing you can really do is a little bit of a show and tell if there's some newer cigar smokers there. Kind of show them, hey, here's a milder cigar, smooth, creamy, easy. Here's the medium that's got some nuts and spice to it. And then maybe here's the big boy or the 6x60 Maduro. They're just going to get cocoa, coffee, deeper flavors. Really help them understand that you're being the cigar curator and trying to host well.
Yes. And the people that way, they're going to feel guided and they're not going to feel intimidated by that. And if they are a cigar enthusiast, they're going to feel right at home, and they're going to appreciate you've taken all the guesswork out of them or making any decisions. Because sometimes after a big meal, or maybe if there's a little bit of chaos, if you're having a huge gathering, the last thing someone is going to want to do is have to make a decision of what to smoke, what to enjoy,
absolutely,
what's good to pick out.
Yeah, and it's along that same lines, if you're outside in the cold, consider this. You might live in a colder environment, or it might be cold. Like, it was really cold here a couple of weeks ago. It's supposed to be cold the next couple of days. I know he said it's a stormy night here in Texas. You haven't seen that while we've been on the podcast. It ended right before we started, and it's coming overnight. And it's ushering in a cold front. So some slightly shorter cigars might be a good choice. Some Robustos, some Petite Coronas, even a Corona. That way you're not out there freezing for a couple of hours. You're enjoying the cigar, and also a cigar that performs well in the wind, good construction, not super delicate. Connecticut's probably are not the way to go if it's super cold and windy on Thursday.
Yeah, and also making sure that you dress for it. So there's nothing glamorous or fun about shivering in a really thin sweater, or maybe you have a Thanksgiving outfit and you're trying to look cool with your cigar, but your teeth are chattering, your fingers are frozen. And also for your guests, like we have a couple of outside blinkies that are just for outside that we wash, and we can give them to people who are coming because maybe they didn't bring a thicker sweater or gloves. So having those options for them to borrow or for you to use, that's just going to make everybody more comfortable.
Yeah, speaking of that, I got to get the propane filled up. We've got 2 electric heaters, a propane heater, a solo stove. We're going to get all that ready so we're prepared for Thursday. A lot to do between now and then. Before we get out of here today, let's go ahead and break down cigars to have ready to enjoy this Thanksgiving. Why don't you go through value, medium, and just give us a quick list before we jump off tonight?
Okay. So in my mind, this is a pretty perfect breakdown of cigars to have ready to enjoy this Thanksgiving. So you're going to have, like we kind of talked about, for the first time smoker, or maybe someone you're not sure is going to be smoking a whole cigar, you're going to have the value cigars and good cigars for the first time people, for the first timers.
Absolutely.
So that's going to be house blend cigars, like you had mentioned.
That's great.
They're going to oftentimes be mild, and they're going to be under $8. The Le Mezcal Cubana is going to be short and mild and also under $7, and that's a great one. The La Giana Angelic or the Maduro is also going to be great. The Maduro
great choices.
Is a little bit more fuller bodied, I would say, but I don't know that it necessarily smokes that way. So it's a pretty safe cigar. And then the Chateau Fuente is in the petite or the short Robusto. Connecticut is also a great option.
Absolutely. And then you can jump into more of the medium-bodied cigars. I'm going to mention a couple. I know you have a few on your list. Velvet Smooth or Spice by the Elevated Humidor. We'd mentioned the Bentley Maduro. And actually, I say Maduro. It's really a Habano. It's just a dark Habano.
Mm-hmm.
What else is on that list, Mel?
The Davidoff Grand Cru is going to be on there as well. And there's also several that are going to be from the Perdomo line. So those are, I think, pretty budget friendly. And you're going to have like the BBA Habano as an option, the 30th Sun Grown, any of the Legacy. A lot of people love that champagne, the
10th anniversary champagne.
The 10th anniversary champagne.
10th anniversary champagne's a little bit more of that medium plus cigar, but it is spectacular.
Yes. And then we can't leave out the Bandolero Series T or the A.
Yeah, great ones. So we've got some value cigars. We've got some medium cigars. What about those full-bodied cigars for those coming over that are more enthusiasts?
Yes, so those are great, and I'm going to be smoking a lot of these hopefully Thursday. There's going to be the Liga Privada number 9, the M81 Blackened by Drew Estates in the Corona Vitola specifically. If you want a different Vitola, that is your decision, but the Corona Vitola is my favorite. The Davidoff Winston Churchill, Late Hour, the Neanderthal by Romacraft is another great one. Yeah. And then there's also Crown Heads in the Belgian Blue 2025 limited edition.
Yeah, and that one just came out, which is a great cigar to have as celebratory because once you get them, they're gone. Only about 2,500 boxes were made. What a great list of cigars. And I'm going to throw in just a couple of extras that you didn't have on your list.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk first the ultra premium Atabey or Atabey Black, the Byron 1850 Grand Bouquet, or the Opus X Rare Pink. All of those are excellent cigars. The Rare Pinks just came out for this year. You're seeing those online, seeing them around, so that's an excellent choice. And then I am going to throw out there the flavored, infused, or sweet tip for maybe some of the newbies. Not something you want to typically keep in your humidor for a lot of those who follow us. However, for those who love a good infused cigar or they're a first-time cigar smoker, the Dark Center Vanilla by the Elevated Humidor is a wonderful option. Fat Body Betty by Drew Estates or the Espresso and Cream by Macanudo.
Yeah, those are all great and awesome additions to the list. And hopefully you guys can get your hands on a few of those before Thursday.
Yeah, it would be great. So let's begin to wrap up and land this turkey.
Okay. So today we talked about Thanksgiving cigars, foods, drinks, and family, and how specifically to pick your moment, your smoke, and the spot to enjoy it.
And my challenge to all you rebels out there is try and craft a cigar tradition this Thanksgiving that you can carry on forward after 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a gratitude cigar. Maybe it's a porch circle with the older generation or the younger generation where you can tell stories.
Absolutely. And don't forget the late night leftover sandwich, or maybe it's just the late night leftovers to have with your final smoke of the day. That is the real chef's table right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you do something fun or you make a great spread, snap a picture, lay your cigar on there, even if it's not lit, and get a good picture, post it on social media and tag us at Cigar Rebel or post it in the Cigar Rebel community. We would love to see what you're doing this Thanksgiving and how you are showing gratitude in this wonderful season.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for joining us today because like we talked about Thanksgiving week, there's might be family coming into town or already here in town. And we appreciate you guys spending this hour with us.
Yep.
And we are still doing the limited editions. We've gotten some in. We've analyzed some. We are getting ready to cut that one off. So that way we're just not saying at the end of every episode.
Yep, absolutely.
But if there's any you want to add to that list, let us know because we would love to analyze them and talk about them on an upcoming show.
And don't forget next week, we're going to be talking about does it belong in the humidor? This is a great episode. The notes are done for that one. I'm super excited. And in the second part of that episode, as we said earlier, Act 2, we are sitting down in person with Jonathan Carney to talk all things Bentley cigars. So make sure you grab a Bentley cigar to smoke with us on that episode. And it's a great time to learn a little bit about what Jonathan's doing, what they're doing at Bentley Cigar today, and what the future looks like. But for tonight, that's our show. Thank you guys so much for being with us.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and share with your other cigar lovers. But until next week, remember to keep your cigar lit, your ash long, and your palate curious.
Absolutely. You guys have a great night and happy Thanksgiving.